I'm Elisa Parker, and we're broadcasting here from the Wild and Scenic Film Festival, celebrating 17 years of this extraordinary festival based in Nevada City and Grass Valley, California. Many props to Circle, the South Yuba River Citizens League that not just helps, but puts this amazing festival on. And we have over 500 volunteers. And I have the privilege during this festival of connecting with so many everyday environmental action heroes. I'm excited to have Nika here with us. And her film is called The River of Kukamas. Did I get that right, Nika?
The River of the Kukamas.
The River of the Kukamas. Well, welcome first to Wild and Scenic. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Is this your first time in Nevada City and at this festival?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Where do you live?
I live in Toronto, Canada.
Oh, okay, nice. So you might be getting some more intense winters than we are.
Yes.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about your film and what inspired you to create this in the first place.
So my film is basically a tranquil journey through the waters and cosmology of this indigenous tribe on the north of Peru, near Iquitos, and I went there as an artist for the artist residence to start actually a completely different film. And it's actually an interesting story that the film became quite a surprise to me. I went to do their film on women's issues, but I couldn't make that happen because I had the translator services were not very good, and the subjects that I was seeking out were not available. And I went there and I was told that I would be submerged into this interesting indigenous culture that was my primary interest, because I believe that a lot of indigenous communities have equal-based society mentality, which I wanted to include in my film.
Right.
But when I got there on these dirt roads, there were, in this tiny little village in the middle of nowhere, there were churches everywhere, Seventh-day Adventist, evangelical, all kinds of Christian churches.
Interesting. I bet that was a surprise to see that in these indigenous communities.
Huge, honestly, especially in so condensed. There were so many churches in such a small little village, and they were full almost every day. So it became an interesting task for me to find the indigenous culture and what happened to it and who they are and where they are, where their beliefs, and how do these beliefs survive in these circumstances. And so my film partially became that, the search and exploration and explanation of their history.
What was the experience like in finding and gaining access to some of the elders and wisdom keepers in that community?
It was actually funny. The first time I met the preserver of the Kukama culture, I saw him through the lens of my camera. And this village is heavily relied on water. And during the rain season, the water changes landscape for 3 months significantly. So a lot of houses get flooded. That's why they're built on stilts. And the fishing happens in huge abundance because that's when the fish comes in and the tourism comes in, and many other things are plentiful. And so I was filming and he was coming in the raft towards the house and stilts that I was living in. And actually it's a sad story because their culture is disappearing. And in the village of 1,200 people, only 13 people speak the language.
Wow.
So, and to me, this means that with the loss of language, there's a huge loss of knowledge.
Right.
Because it's also knowledge of the environment, of the habitat, and everything that comes with this. So, it's a tragedy. But I'm happy to say that after I made the film, and because it's been luckily having momentums at the festivals like this, my main subject, who is the preserver of the culture, has been given grant to teach kids the language.
That's fantastic, Nika.
As of this January.
That's amazing. What was the process like to help gain the trust from the community there so that you could actually film them?
That was actually a tricky situation because the people who organized residency, they came from Lima, the capital. They were not the villagers. And they told us that they're going to disperse some money because it was paid residence, small fee, that they're going to give it back to the community, but they did not. And we found out it from the villagers. So there was unfortunate kind of clash. And so we had to explain to the villagers that we were not aware of the situations and to gain their trust even more so. But we did that with numerous workshops we did with kids because there were artists from different parts of the world.
Like what were your workshops about?
We made a little short film with the kids. So we did a little bit of how to do the sound, how to do the cameras, and they loved carrying all the equipment and having fun with this. So, and in return, some of the elders taught us wood carving, their classical wood carving, and how to make objects out of clay in their traditional ways, which was really, really beautiful, interesting.
Why, of course, it's important to share stories of all the indigenous communities and cultures. Why is it so important, did you feel like, for you to be able to tell, help tell the story of this indigenous community?
Well, a lot of indigenous communities are animists by their belief system, and I am an animist myself. And this was what attracts me as well. I'm very interested in origin stories, and I know that finally scientists start to listen to origin stories and find correlations with actual things that happened way back before there was written language.
Right. It's almost like biomimicry. Right. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So, and indigenous people are the people who, on the forefront of protecting nature, because that's their main means of survival, and they respect nature a lot. And I think it's very important to hear their voices in the times like these. And in Peru, they're struggling as well to be heard by the governments. So this happens everywhere around the world. And that's why I think it's important to keep the dialogue going, to give them platforms to hear their voices.
Right.
Yeah.
And Nika, how long did you live in this community for?
I spent there a full month during the rain season, which was fantastic and very interesting. And so right now the land looks very, very different there, much drier. And because we went there as artists, that allowed them to explore more tourist possibilities and to attract more people to learn about their indigenous ways.
It's incredible. What do you have coming up next?
I'm working on a documentary on the women's issue that I initially set up.
What is it that you initially wanted to cover around that as it relates to women?
I'm making a cross-cultural documentary on what it means to be childless woman, childless not by choice but by circumstances.
In that area?
Or around the world.
Around the world. Okay.
Yeah.
What it means to be childless and making that intentional choice.
Unintentional.
Unintentional choice.
Unintentional, yeah. Because people think that most of the people who do not have children do it by choice. In fact, this is only a small fraction of people.
Interesting. All right. Well, you're going to have to return to Wild and Scenic Film Fest, Nika, and
Would
let us
love
know.
to.
Where can folks go to get more information about this film and the work that you're doing?
I have it on my website, which is a long name. So it's Nika, Nika, and my last name is BELIANINA.com, or The River of the Kukamas. They can Google this. It's out there, the trailer. It's still on the festival circuit.
That's great. And last question is, what has been your favorite part about Wild and Scenic Film Fest?
Oh my God, the audiences probably. I'm astonished how much they're engaged, and I did not expect that. It's such a wonderful surprise.
Great. Thank you so much for being here, Nika. I'm Elisa Parker. This is the Wild and Scenic Film Festival, celebrating 17 years, connecting with extraordinary women like Nika here. We'll have more stories like these coming up.
Thank you.